All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Word with Ty Brownlow. I am your host, Ty Brownlow. Remember, no one is worthless, no story is worthless. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about faith. All right, not the song, George Michael, we ain't on that, but we're talking about actual faith, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Joining me all the way from the East Coast, y'all already know what it is. Joining me from Philly, all right, y'all already, man. Philadelphia, yes, y'all already know what it is, all right? Please put your hands together for Miss Jasmine Hawkins.
Hello. Hey.
How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been a long week, but I'm here. I'm well. I'm happy.
Hey, we're here. Happy you're here. Man, gratitude across the board, okay?
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, man, no problem at all. So, I just want to start it off. You are an author. You have, plenty of published books, but your latest book is called Uncapped Faith. Can you talk a little bit about this, please?
Yes. So Uncapped Faith, it does two things. One, it documents my journey from leaving my 10-year teaching career into full-time entrepreneurship, which I did 4 years ago. It was a leap of faith. I have no business background. I'm still learning even now, but I knew that it was time to go. And in the book, I actually use the biblical story of creation as a guide for anybody who's in a transition to kind of show you how to start something new, but like do it following God.
Okay, so look, well, all right. First of all, the concept is very interesting. All right, because I'm like, all right, so faith, okay, man, creation, like, that's a lot. That's a lot. You're asking for us to do a lot right now, okay? Like, you're asking us to create another universe, multiverse, and all these things in it, and that can be overwhelming, especially, as you said, hey, I just started this journey. I really didn't have any idea of all these other things. I just knew it was time for me to do something else. And there are millions, billions of people who get up every single day and who are stuck in that same predicament, but have no way out. So, excuse me. Can you talk a little bit about how, like, your book can help those, considering, man, I need to make a major transition, whether it's moving, whether it's getting a new job, what have you, a house, this, that, what have you. Like, how can your book help those, types of people, find their way on to the next big thing?
Yeah, so I say, you have me, I have a couple things coming to mind, so I'm going to try to keep them organized. So one, I say that one of the people this book is like for type A people who I would consider overly self-reliant. And so because we are used to getting things done and like we can carry a lot and we just, very organized, a lot of times we don't realize how much we are relying on ourselves, honestly, more than we rely on the God that we say we trust, more than we rely on wherever we say we put our faith. And so what I found, like, on my journey of leaving my career was the first 6 months, I knew that I knew I was a writer. I knew I had a nonprofit. Neither one of those were replacing my teaching income. So the first 6 months, I kind of just put it in my own hands. It was like, okay, I know God has confirmed that it was time for me to leave. And I Ubered to make money. And then I would just have like a schedule of like writing and things like that. But what happened in those first 6 months, actually a month before I left, I had to buy a new car. So that was part of my savings. And then later that year, I had to get a new heater for my house. So that was another set of savings. So it was literally back-to-back things. And I got to the point that December, because I left in June after the school year. And I was like, God, I did not leave my job to be an Uber driver. I know this is not what you called me to do. Like, I'm overwhelmed, right? And that's one of the things that you said. So self-reliant people can also find themselves in places of feeling overwhelmed because we're putting it all on ourselves. We're not really, we trust God, he's there, we pray, but we're not tapping into him for supernatural strategy. And so it was that moment in December where I'm praying and crying, where shortly after, we actually had like a cousins event, and I like put together an activity for my cousins to do to help them like introspect. And like while I was doing it, I think both while I was doing it and after, I'm like, this is what you do. You've been doing this for years with different groups. And so like, why don't you turn this into like a group where you can do this for people like on a period of time and see if they'll pay you for it. So that was like the first launch of my first service in my entrepreneurial journey. And like from there, so at the time it was called the Accountability Group. In 2021, I renamed it as the Accountability Tribe. So I say all that to say like that was my story, but how the book can help you is it shows you each day of creation is a guide. So like the first day of creation, God said, you know, let there be light. What's interesting about that is the sun, moon, and stars are not created until day 4. So what was the light that came, right? And I've been in church my whole life and I'm like, yo, that's deep. The light is him. Jesus is the light of the world. Like it literally says this throughout the Bible. So he brought himself in, like, let there be me, essentially, on day 1. And so like, even that is a guide to like, if we're going to start anything new, we got to bring in God. We can't just do it like on our own, and we have to be like strategic. So the book also gives you like specific strategies. It gives you journal questions and reflection points in the actual Bible verses. So you can use your Bible to read more, but I put it all in there so you can really sit down with yourself and with God to kind of like explore, like, am I bringing you in? Am I creating separation from like my thoughts and your thoughts, things like that.
So how long did it take you to come up with this?
Oh, so actually 2020, right, hit. 2020 was when I got the idea to write the book. During that year, I was like, I saw that my friends had certain friends had like this crazy connection with God. Like they heard from him. One friend like heard from him audibly. Another friend, they were just so engrossed. And I'm like, I want that. Like, I've been in church my whole life, but I don't have this like connection where I'm kind of clear on like what God wants for me. So I went on this journey to like just spend unlimited time with God in the morning. And because I was working for myself, I had some freedom to do so. So I got the idea in like 2020 during one of my devotion times. And then I finished the book, I believe September 2021. Yes. And then everything since has been like post-production.
Wow. See, and I used to ask this question, but now, according to the government or what have you, as of next week, we won't be in COVID anymore. So, COVID will officially be over as of May 12th of 2023. So
we'll be in post-pandemic. Got it. Okay.
Right. The pandemic's over. But anyway, I always talk about, yes, very rough time for a lot of us who lost loved ones, loved ones got sick or what have you, and some just haven't been right since. But also on the flip side of that, there have been a lot of births, as far as businesses, ideas, things that, have like gone forward now that a couple of years later we look up, hey, we have Uncapped Faith, okay? And here it is, in its glory. And pretty much as you said, and you talk about your story, which I think is, so look, let me just, as a sidebar here, let me just put this here. I've dedicated my platform to mental health in all aspects, not just, hey, let's just sit here and talk about good therapy services. I mean, mental health in the spiritual, mental, physical, financial, what have you.
Right. Wellness, mind, body, spirit, wellness.
Right. So overall, I feel something like this along with, hey, you know what? If you're going to therapy, great. There's a lot of people who want to go into therapy who may need something like this just to sit back and, hey, you know what? I need to reflect. I may not even be starting a business or what have you. I just need to get my connection better with like God, and I just need to get myself turned around. So you're on to something. You're on to something. But we're going to talk a little bit about this involvement in a second. I don't want to give all this up real quick.
It's so much. It's so much.
so much here. So much. But real quick, now I know you have something called, how people can have their faith capped. Limited vision, fear-based decisions, and being overwhelmed. Can you talk a little bit about that real quick?
Yes. So I think we cover overwhelmed because you're usually relying on yourself more than the God that you say that you trust in. Limited vision. So usually without knowing it, right, our experiences, our upbringing, the people we surround ourselves by teach us what they know. And because of that, people inadvertently put their own limitations on what they think is possible for you. And sometimes you internalize those limitations for what you think is possible. So for example, so 2015, the book came, I left my job in 2019. 2015, I was at another teaching school. I was teaching at a different school from the one that I left in 2019. And I remember I was working on my poetry chapbook. And I remember talking to my dad, like, Dad, this teaching thing was cool, but I think I'm just going to be a writer. Like, we literally had this conversation. And then I ended up getting offered a job that was paying me like 40% more to teach. So I was like, I can teach. I got 5 more years in me. So,
come on now.
I happily went to that other job. And 2 years in, I'm just like, this is not it. It was super structured, but I had very little autonomy. And they were not prioritizing writing, which is my thing. I teach English, but they specifically said we're focusing on literature. So writing is not a priority for the next couple of years. And I'm like, I refuse to send my senior students to college not knowing how to write a research paper. That's just unacceptable. It was just like, this is not it for me, right? That same year, I ended up starting a production at the school. And that was the school's opportunity, large scale, to see both my gifting beyond the classroom, but also the students who don't come to school were coming to practice every day, performing poetry, learning lines in theater, just doing this whole thing. And so prior to that, I had already been having conversations with my administration about going part-time, because I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I can teach a writing class part-time, which will free me up to live my life on the side. And my my supervisors, my parents were like, no, you need to teach. This is what you do. You're great. But I felt like something bigger was inside of me. And so it wasn't until I did that event where my principal was finally like, I understand now why you have to leave the classroom. But my vision would have been limited if I didn't listen to that voice inside of me, to that deeper understanding of this is not all there is. Teaching in this way is not all there is. I didn't accept that. And again, having that understanding of yourself, which I now would say Holy Spirit's leading, or just being tuned in, learning more about God and you, or the person he created you to be. That is one way that you begin to uncap your faith and break past the limited vision that people have for you, or that sometimes we have for ourselves. Because now technically I still teach, but I get to teach in my own way. I'm no longer in the classroom. I get to teach through my nonprofit, so that's that. I can pause before I go to the next one if you want to say anything.
Oh, no. Look here, man, come on now. I want you to talk to us about these fear-based decisions, because that's real.
So fear-based decisions, a lot of times when we are starting something new, and I'm actually on my YouTube series, we're focusing on, this month's series is called Fight Through the Fear. And a lot of times when we reach a faith moment, right? Faith sounds great to have, but if you actually analyze a biblical character in their faith moment, let's choose Gideon, because I just talked about him this past Wednesday. Gideon's tribe, his people were being oppressed by the Midianites. When God finds him, hiding at the time in a wine press and says, hello, mighty warrior. Gideon's like, oh, the Lord, like the Lord is speaking to you, mighty warrior. And he's like, the Lord, where he at? If he was there, we wouldn't be hiding, we wouldn't be oppressed. Like, where's the Lord that our ancestors told us about? And he was like, because we're here suffering at the hand of Midian. And he's like, actually, I want you to go and take out the Midianites. Gideon's like, hold up, I am in the weakest tribe, and I'm like the least in my family within the tribe. So God is calling him to take out a whole slew of people, and this man is a person in his family that like clearly people don't look up to. He felt like he was the weakest, but also he's in this clan that they consider like not important. And so in that moment, there's what God is calling him to do, and there's who he sees himself as. So you also again see this limited thinking. And because of that, right, we would get stuck not moving on the call or the pull that we feel because we're scared. Like that he's fearful in that moment. And so like, if we aren't careful, we continually make decisions day after day to do or not to do something because the root of what we're doing has some fear in it. We're scared of what people will say. We're scared of our ability to actually do this big thing. We're scared of taking a move and failing. And so again, the more that we follow the guide that God gave us in the creation story and begin to look at, once we bring him in, right, what are the next things that we begin to do, which the next days of creation show you, like we get to learn how to fight through those moments, because a faith moment is not easy. It's hard. It feels overwhelming. But when you begin to rest, not on yourself and be like, okay, God, just like when Moses was handing it over to Joshua, God said to Joshua, like, I am with you. Be of good courage because I am with you. So when you learn to like rest in that, like, okay, even if I feel limited, God, because I know you're with me, we're going to move forward. We're going to feel the fear, but we're going to do it anyway. That's kind of like how you work through the fear-based decisions with your faith at the center.
Feel the fear, but do it anyway. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. No, well, look. So let's just really be real about it. Like those who really step out to just try something that they've just never done before. Man, you may not be into bungee jumping. You may not, well, I'm kind of good on bungee jumping, but I'm just going to say zip lining. Okay, yeah, cool. All right, so yeah, you may not be into zip lining. I may not be into zip lining, but I just may have courage. You know what? I'm just gonna go out here, have faith. Like, look here. You already know. Come on now. I'll let you boy. I'm going out here. You know I don't really be doing this. So look here. Come on now. All right.
Right.
So now I'm out here on faith, and but when you overcome that, then you're like, you know what? That wasn't as bad as I. And now you start to carry that courage, you get that mojo, and now you just want to, go ahead and, hey, you know what? No. We've been doing this all wrong. We should, let's start doing it like this. Right. But then, that's when like you have a lot of people with the limited vision, and they are overwhelmed, and they do have fear-based decisions as well. So okay. So look here, real quick. Now I know the book is dropping. See, we sitting up here talking about all this stuff. The book is dropping June 2023, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, but can you tell us where can we get the book?
Yes, so I have a website, jazzthepoet.com. Jazz is spelled Jazz, thepoet.com. And if you go to jazzthepoet.com/works, that's where you'll see all my latest work. So as soon as the book drops, it'll be there. And also Instagram is my most used platform. So people can follow me on Instagram for updates. I know I'm going to go live the day that like the pre-orders drop, which is actually coming soon. So my Instagram is MIZZ Ms, because Miss wasn't available. Jazz, Jazz. So Miss Jazz on Instagram.
Okay, all right. See, come on. All right. No. Support people. Okay. I mean, man, look here. Y'all already know. I'm pushing it. I'm gonna push it out there. All right. So look here. Now, I know you talked a little bit about your YouTube series, but you do have a YouTube series called Take Action. Tell us all about it.
Yes, so Take Action was the title of one of the episodes that I sent you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
You're good.
Okay.
So I started the YouTube series, Another Leap of Faith, last July because I knew the book was coming out and I was like, this could be a way to gain traction. So when I first started it, it was called 5-Minute Faith Talk, but I found like 5 minutes wasn't enough. So it's currently called Faith in 15 or Less. Where I can deliver a message about faith in 15 minutes or less. And every Wednesday I drop a new episode. The last couple of months I've been doing like a series for the month. So like this month's series is Fight Through the Fear. And we just unpack different stories. We look at different Bible characters to kind of like get the real, because like, again, I've been in church my whole life, but when I was reading the stories as a child, you always picture yourself, one, as like the main character, and two, it just seems so like easy, like, yes, they trusted God and they went forward. But when I go back and I'm like reading, like, let's take when Peter denied Jesus, like that was scary. His life was on the line. Like, and so like put yourself in his position. Like, what are the things when we're used to walking with God in a certain way, and then the presence as we know it is no longer with us, right? What happens then when we're first faced with those obstacles and we're like, God, I used to hear from you, but I don't feel you. Like, I don't, like whatever fear comes up. For him, it was denial, but whatever fear comes up, we usually take action in that because we're not used to having to, again, walk with the level of God. Like Peter walked with God, with Jesus, and he learned a lot, but he didn't have to depend on what he learned yet because Jesus was always with him. So now when Jesus is taken away, now all of the stuff that was inside of him that he didn't know yet, because again, he was always with Jesus, he had to tap into. But it was a journey of tapping into it, because when he was first, faced with, being accused and possibly dying because of his association, like, oh, no, hold up. Like, that's not me. And so while we may not be denying Jesus, like sometimes we might deny what we know or deny what's in us, because like we're at this new level and we're not used to it yet. So yeah, the Faith series just kind of allows us to really like unpack the biblical characters from a realistic standpoint of like how that applies in our own life.
But hey, you know what? I'm digging it, because how you put it, and if you put it in real life terms, like, and even if you use like certain periods, or what have you, because as you're saying, like, hey, I'm going to be, man, they talking about, man, they talking about doing stuff to me because I know dude over here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been rolling with him, but man, you know what? I don't really know him like that,
Exactly.
I don't really know dude like that, but, he cool, you know what I'm saying? We get free stuff, but I think
I saw him a couple times.
Right, but I don't really know dude. What? No. But I love it. And I love it that you could put it in a way that people can understand, and you just drive home the point. 15 minutes
or less. Right.
15 minutes or less. Like, hey, and I think that's more than enough time, because, hey, we're on this thing, these days, as you said, social media, you're on the gram a lot. Man, you know how it can be. Scrolling. Okay, yeah, all right, man. But if there's something that catches my eye, 15 minutes or less, and it has a message and it's catchy. Oh, okay, yeah, okay, you know what? And that rolls on and on and on. Okay, see, Jasmine, I see.
Yes, your midweek faith boost. You got the sermon that you might get on Sunday, and then sometime during the week, you might have forgot, it might have faded off your face, something. So you need food. I got you.
Right, that, man, I'm just getting y'all prepped for, what's coming later on. I'm just getting
right.
Okay. Now, I want to talk about your community action, because I'm always, man, look, that's just something like, man, look, we need more of it, especially today. And in today's society, we need more of it. But I want to talk about your community action. Like, where does all of that come from?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I think I've always had a heart for people. And when I think back, the start of it comes from like two places. So one, I grew up, I would say, very fortunate. So I have like both my parents. We went to Christian school up until high school. And so my parents, who didn't like have much, they grew up in single parent households with like 1 or 4 siblings, but they made commitments to like have a different life and a very specific life for their children. So they poured a lot into me and my siblings. So that was like one thing. Knowing that, I also saw the contrast of like cousins or close friends, mostly from church, who did not have that same experience, but specifically my cousins. And so I found early on that like, if I heard they weren't going to have like a Christmas, then I'm taking my birthday money to buy different gifts for them to make sure that they have an experience. So I think that the root of it was and understanding my privilege, even as a Black woman, and wanting people who look like me, who don't have that, to experience the same love and pouring that I've experienced. And like, I found that like when I realized I wanted to go into teaching, it was literally that same thing. I wanted students to look like me, to have the same pouring that I had. So it's kind of like I got poured into so that I could overflow my pour out into others. And that's kind of like been my driving force. I love working with youth, specifically like high school age. At this juncture in life, I'm like 11th grade to like, you know, maybe 4 to 6 years after you graduate, and helping you with that transition. That's where my nonprofit focuses on. That's where my heart is.
Okay, so what is the name of your nonprofit?
It's called Urgent 365. The name was derived from my poetry chapbook from 2015, which was called Urgent Conversations. Yeah.
Okay.
And
look. Let me just say, no, like everything you just said right there is amazing, because you know what? I'm just gonna keep it real. I've worked in education as well. You know, I've been an aide, you know, so I know how, man, you know, I've been in like the SPED and the norm, man, you know, I've gotten it all. Yeah. But I will say this, I've enjoyed working with high schoolers more so, especially juniors and seniors. Yeah. You know, freshmen are cool too, sophomores.
Yeah, I told them a couple, I'm like, you're not bad.
Yeah, you know, sophomores, yeah. Like, no, because you know what? They be too cool for me, man. They be too cool. Like, you know what? I gotta, man. No, man. I don't know you. But wait, like, bruh, 4 months ago, like, I was helping you, like, not get beat up by, like, 4 other dudes. Yeah, right. Okay. Now you know. Okay, cool. Solid. Okay, bro. I see what we on. I'll tell you your junior year, though. Okay. Wait. Right. No, but no, I love it that you work with that older aspect, and as they transition on, because I know a lot of times, you know, especially here in America, and we've all grown up with that concept. Hey, you know, you go to school, you know, you leave high school, go to college, you get education, you get yourself a good job. That just doesn't happen all the time. Right. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, there has to be a plan B, but you pouring into them, you know, at an earlier age, like when they may not have that, and as they transition, that can be scary. So, you know, I want to ask this question, because now we sitting up here talking about all this, and this is a question that I ask every now and then. But since we're here, I'm going to ask this question. I have this concept. It's called leaving empty. Okay? Ooh. When you leave empty, when it's all said and done, Jasmine, when it's all said and done, man, when the movie is no longer playing of our life, when that movie begins, okay? What will be the legacy of Jasmine Hawkins? Because there will be many things said about Jasmine Hawkins by other people, but while Jasmine Hawkins is here right now, and I have her here, and we're talking about leaving empty, what would you want your legacy to be?
Wow, that's deep. So I had a life coach, not a life coach, a leadership coach last year, and she made me do this activity, which is from the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. and it was essentially to write my obituary, like what people would say at my funeral about me. So it's taking me back to that because I was like, oh gosh. So I would like people to say when I leave that I inspired them to see something within themselves that they didn't know existed. And for those who perhaps already knew, then I inspired them to actually move on, or showed them how to move on what they knew was inside of them. But to do it from a place of overflow and not a place of lack. So to prioritize pouring into themselves first, before they go out and pour into others.
That English coming through, y'all. It's that English. No, I mean, because you see how eloquent it came off real quick. Yes.
I had to think about it. That was a hard one.
And I will write this now. No, this one, no. But no, hey, that's what's up though. That's what's up. Because as I sit here and I listen to you and we're talking about all these things about, like, man, we're really talking about faith. And especially in the day and time now, as I said, I talk about mental health in all aspects. So not only do I talk about the good aspects, but there's also the bad aspects as well, because I always say the one thing that people will use to help you will also be the same thing people use to harm as well. Right. So something, like Uncapped Faith can be a tool for those who, everybody's not a fan of therapy.
Right.
Okay. But everybody has thoughts.
Yes.
Some may not be a fan of therapy because they may not have the means to travel to and go see. Some may not be a fan of therapy because they have nowhere to do their telehealth sessions or what have you because of the area that they're around. But everyone has thoughts. When I write, it's quiet. Right. But pretty much inside my head, man, there's a whole bunch of noise going on. I can tell you that.
Yes.
So, like, I just feel like this is a necessity, and it can be used as, a very, like, useful tool for those who are going through, therapy or what have you, and you just may need that extra boost.
Right. Right.
It's just like doing your laundry, you know what I'm saying? Some of y'all like the Oxy, like myself, Sometimes you might want to throw a couple more Oxys in there, I mean.
That looks like enough.
Man, you know what I'm saying? Like a brother like me, I like 2 or 3,
Right.
I what I'm saying? I like to see nothing but like slugs. All right. I know it's clean. Okay. I'm just saying. Anyway, but let me get off that. But so look here. You've already given us your social media info. So this brings me to my last question, but this is the question that my show is known for, but I would love to get your answer to this.
Oh, gosh.
Miss Jasmine Hawkins.
Yeah.
What is the one word that best describes you and why?
So I looked you up and I saw this. So I think that a word to describe me would be creative. I usually say I'm a strategic creator, but I choose creative because I go into different communities or sit down with different people to help create solutions for their issues. So whether that be a program or a resource or a group or a book, and so I feel like creative just kind of embodies all the different aspects of who I am and how I do what I do and where I do what I do.
Okay. I like that. Okay. Because that is true. You are creative, and man, since you've seen my show and you know what I do, so here's my word for you, okay? But it's something that I've already said. Necessity. I mean, let's go through the notes then. All right.
Okay. All right, let's go.
Refresh. Okay, so a book, Uncapped Faith, talking about transitioning, from one point to the next, and just stepping out on that faith, hey, like taking a chance on yourself, hey, not having a limited vision, not having fear-based decisions, not being overwhelmed, I have a nonprofit, yes, I used to teach, and those that I still have, that effect and, coolness with, I still mentor them as they transition through their like young adulthood. Okay, yeah. Necessity. Okay. Man, like I can go on and on and on. So that's why I chose that word, because you are necessary in people's environments and in their lives, That's why I pretty much asked the question, what will be the story of, Jasmine Hawkins when, it's all said and done, when she leaves here empty? You ain't leaving anything. We all leaving here empty now.
Right.
Last time I checked, everybody left here empty. The Coleman may be full of whatever, but you ain't gonna.
Right.
Nah. All right. So, I just say all that to say that, hey, man, look here. I'm blessed to have this platform because I get to meet people such as yourself from all over, not just from all over. And when you're doing good in the hood and all over, man, why not shout that out? So there it is. I'm off my soapbox. Obama mic drop. There it is.
I received it. Thank you very much.
No problem at all. Look here. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. And let me just say, whatever else you got going on, please don't be a stranger. Always come back. Man, we'd love to have you. Okay?
Yes, all right. Definitely.
All right. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, y'all already know what it is. Word with Ty Brownlow. I've been your host, Ty Brownlow. Remember, no one is worthless. No story is worthless. Follow me. All social media platforms. Word with Ty Brownlow. Go to my website, tybrownlow.com. Get this wonderful conversation plus other great conversations as well. Jasmine, we out.
We out.
Peace.